I'm BugeyeBob, and I'm on a mission to resurrect this 1958 Austin Healey Mark I Sprite from this to this, so it doesn't end up in this. Okay, promised you shorter videos. I've been putting a lot of stuff in there of how I'm doing things. I've decided I'm going to quit doing that. I've gone from a lot of people watching down to just a few people watching, and I have to believe that part of that is that the content is just kind of getting dull and boring because it's kind of the same stuff over and over. So my plan in the future is the videos are going to be shorter, starting with this one, and I'm going to basically tell you what I've done, less showing, unless it's something that I think is useful or important. If it's just welding, you're not going to see just plain welding. If it's just grinding, you're not going to see just plain grinding. If it's just primer painting, you're not going to see just plain primer painting. If it's something that I think is important, if you're working on one of these cars, I'm going to include that. Otherwise, if it's generic stuff, I probably won't. There's lots of people out there that have other content creators who have more established channels who are experts on welding, they're experts on this, that, or whatever else. I'm not going to cover that crap. If you're really unlucky, I may start telling some of the war stories from my past, but I don't plan on doing that right now. So, here we go, folks. I'm going to cover in this video, I'm going to cover the repair of the front rails, frame rails on the vehicle where they were rusted out, and this main cross member that provides a lot. These two things are critical structural components, and these two things were really rusted out real bad in the car. So that's what's coming up. You may see one or two other little things in there. May throw in a tip or two if I've got a tip or two. But please stand by, watch the video, like, subscribe, share. Like I said, going to be short and sweet from now on. Here we go. So I cut this piece out of right here. Cut that all out. And again, I had that same problem. I'm trying to work a cutoff disc in here and trying to keep a straight line. There's no way in hell you can do it. I think what I'm going to do in the future is, instead of trying to use the cutoff disc, I think what I'm going to do is use the plasma torch, because if I can get something to run that torch against, I can just go zip right down through, and I'm not battling trying to control something that wants to jump all over the place or cut out of line or whatever. If I've got a good straight line, you know, with hell, even a piece of wood or something that's on there that gives me a good straight line to rub against, then I can make a good clean cut there. So that's probably what I'm going to do in the future, is use the plasma torch wherever I have to make a straight cut. So this piece came out of there. I had to cut it loose from here. I found inside of that, so you may have heard a bunch of clanking around whenever I was rolling this thing from side to side. And what I found in there was this, which is apparently one of the pins that lock in to hold the bonnet down on the front. How the hell that got inside of this tube? That tube came all the way back to this cross member here. How it ended up inside of the tube, I don't know, because I don't think there's a hole small enough in there. So maybe it was one of those things where the employee was pissed off that day and just kind of decided, you know what, this car's going to rattle. Don't know. Now let's talk about this cross member. So this cross member sat in the car roughly like this. Roughly like that. And to get it out, I had to cut it away from here on the drive shaft tunnel and cut it off of here on this front rail, and had to do a whole bunch of nasty beating and shit, which was real good until it got to the point of trying to pull this part out of the sill or rocker panel, as we would call it. And then it became a problem because the end of this tube was welded inside here to the inner sill member. And it was a question then of, well, how do you break that weld? I tried a dry grinder, and there was really no way I could get in there. So what I ended up doing was cutting this piece out with the cutoff disc. So once I got that cut off, then I could get in there and actually grind on that to break that weld loose. And then it, you know, pounding and everything, I was able to get that out. I am getting set to bend up some parts on my 30-inch shear press brake and slip roll. Says it's good for a 30-inch width. Says it's good for a 30-inch width with 20 gauge mild steel. I'm going to be bending 18 gauge, about 19 inches long, something like that. I need a flange, 90-degree flange that is a 1/2 inch wide. And there's where the first problem starts, because this little bugger, as delivered, this backstop does not go up close enough to the dies. So I put a couple of pieces of aluminum on here, drilled them 1/4 inch, and put in a 1/4 inch bolt here, and on the other side went with the bolts that came with the thing here and here. And I can adjust this piece this way, I can tilt it this way, I can make sure it's square, whatever I want. Right now it's set to give me a 1/2 inch flange. If it's perfectly tight against the bottom die, I will get a 3/8 inch flange if I ever want one. But if I ever want to have a piece that's, you know, kind of, and one of the ways you can make a cone shape is you do a bend, do a bend, do a bend, and you just keep bringing the piece around. Or you could, of course, do it in a roller, but whatever. So, ready now to do a bend. Let's see how this all works out. These pieces are to fix the rail, and they are 18 1/8 inches long. Let's see how we do on bending them. This is a right-hand one, so I want this bent like this, just to keep my lettering straight. Let's go down and see what we get. I'll go down too far. That's not quite 90 degrees, but it's close. One more little twitch and shove should do it. That's 90 degrees. Want that to be 1/2 inch. And that looks 1/2 inch to me. Right there it is. Just to make sure we can run this down on the inside, and that's 1/2 inch. So I'm pleased with that one. Let's see how good of a 90 we've got. Yeah, we're just a little shy of 90. We're about 87. Okay. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. You can now make a one-time or recurring donation to help save Lazarus through PayPal. For less than the price of a cup of coffee each month, you can support this project as a member on Patreon. See the links in the description below. Still about 87. We'll go a little bit further. I think that's 90. We have 90 on both ends. We didn't quite hit 90 in the middle, but that's probably close enough because that's just going to be floor pan anyways. So it's going to hold up the floor pan, is what I meant to say. This one is for the left-hand side. So all that I did was in the middle here, where right here you're not getting as much pressure as you are on the ends. So what I did was I just moved this out to the ends to get more pressure on them. Those two look good. So let's talk about what we've got done. The frame rail runs from here all the way up to here. This area in here in the footwell was all rusted out. So I replaced this. The part on the other side is still good metal, so I didn't need to replace that. Now, this cross member runs from the inner sill on each side all the way across, and in the middle has the bolt Allen point for the rear transmission and engine mount. Now, they advertise these you can buy a full-length cross member. In the Moss catalog, it says that these pieces, I ordered one for each side because I didn't have any way. If you try replacing the whole thing all at once, you got a goddamn mess on your hand. You've got to rip off one sill, and there wasn't enough of this car left to do that. So what I did was I ordered the two pieces, and they're not 2/5 of the length. They're almost half the length, but not quite. You actually have a gap in the middle that's about 1/2 inch wide. Now, one of the very important things that I was smart enough to do, which if you're replacing any of these things, you damn well better do it while you're in the process of replacing it. And that is, and I'm going to just push in on this right there. You'll notice I got 2 bolts running in these pieces. Those 2 bolts go up into the transmission mount. When I first welded these, I welded this piece in first, got this one ready to weld in, and said, you know, maybe I better just see if this is going to work. If I had welded these together like I had originally planned, because I thought that these were each halfway, my transmission mount bolts would not have lined up. In fact, even though I hammered down the ends on each of these pieces, because they're made for the flange kind of kicks out like this a little bit, instead of being a true 90-degree angle. If I hadn't hammered those down, these and welded these pieces together, there was no way in hell I was ever going to get those in there. This has got pieces welded in that those bolts have to run through. So by putting in the transmission mount and bolting everything to the transmission mounts, I got the right spacing for those, so that I know that these are far enough apart to where the transmission mount will actually bolt back in again. Now, you can't see it very well, but there's the actual gap itself. So what I did was I bent up this little piece here, and I'm going to weld that piece in on the inside to take up all of that gap and make these into one solid piece. If I run a straight edge across these from one side to the other, these are almost perfectly straight. Where it gets a little irritating is the bolt holes inside on each side, where there are bolts that run through here that bolt into that transmission mount. On this side, they line up pretty good. On the other side, they don't line up so good. So I may have to dig that hole out a little bit to get it all to line up properly. I don't know. Now, you will notice some very ugly welds. I'm not a welder. When in doubt, have a hunch, weld a bunch. So there's a shitload of metal welded onto there. I wove back and forth. Is it solid? You're damn right it's solid. That ain't going no place. Is it pretty? No, it's pretty ugly is what it is. I did, however, manage to get one really nice looking weld. So life ain't all bad. So what I have left to do is position and weld this piece in here, because I want this all closed off. It's just too convenient of a place for crap to get into and cause more rust and stuff in the future. So as you can see, I've got that piece welded in. I tacked it in on the inside, and then I welded it on the outside. Horrible job. Lots and lots of weld material, but it's going to be solid. And you can see that where this used to be kind of sloppy and floppy, everything's starting to tighten up and become stiffer on this thing. I also went around and sprayed down areas with some primer so that hopefully it won't rust all to hell in the future. So anything else I need to tell you about these things? These points right here on each side, top and bottom, are the jacking points. They actually come through right here. Of course, I've cut this outer sill or rocker panel out. You slide your jack in there, jack it up. It actually lifts up both ends of the vehicle at the same time. So if you got to change the front tire or the rear tire, boom, put your jack in there and jack it up, and hope like hell it doesn't fall on you, I guess. Not my favorite way of doing things, but that's the way it's done. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Like, share, subscribe. Click down there on that little like button. It really helps out a lot. Make some comments. Comments help a lot. It's just, comments and likes are what YouTube wants to see to recommend this video to other people. So please do that. Over on Patreon, you can join up and sign up as a member over there. Help support the channel. $4 a month. Hell, who the hell doesn't waste $4 a month on something? And you can also, if you want, make a one-time donation through PayPal. Links down below. And I think that's going to do it for this video. Have a great life, and we will see you next week. Well, folks, that's it for this episode of BugeyeBob. I really appreciate you watching and hope that, like me, you've learned a few things to do or maybe not to do in this episode. Please like and comment on this video as it encourages YouTube to share it with others and helps grow the channel. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell to get notified when new videos are released. If you'd like to support this channel and save Lazarus from the recycle furnace, you can now make a one-time or recurring donation through PayPal. You can also support this restoration project by becoming a member at patreon.com/BugeyeBob. Patreon members get early access to the videos and in the future will enjoy question and answer sessions and live streams. As this channel grows, future Patreon member benefits will include bonus or extended videos, member names in the credits, and the ability to suggest topics for future videos. You can follow this BugeyeBob restoration on YouTube and Facebook. You'll find the links in the description below for PayPal, Patreon, YouTube, and Facebook. Once again, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and supporting this channel.